Let's begin. Hey everybody, this is Taylor Hamlin from History Forge, and today I'll be reviewing my last week of school and also talking about how to help students find interest again with their projects and how to find scholarly secondary sources. So last week we really focused on annotated bibliographies. We really wanted the students to find as much information as possible and stuff it into a bibliography, but also to describe it. That's what makes it an annotated bibliography. So basically, students had to prove to me that they have found research and they put it into a bib and then they described it. That's exactly what I wanted them to do, and more or less it worked out pretty well. The majority of the students had great annotated bibliographies. We put them in their portfolios, and I'm going to review them throughout the week. And basically, I'm going to use that as a tool to figure out, okay, these group of students are really, they have a great topic, they have good information, they're ready to find more scholarly sources like journal articles, books, things that they can find at the state library or maybe the local public library. And that's really the goal here, is to find more information, more sources. Now, I have had some students struggle finding information, whether it be just finding a topic, finding sources for that topic, or if they have found sources, they're just unmotivated to read about it. I mean, we are still reading history, and so many students are not motivated to read a topic even though they chose it, even though it's their interest. So I think what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to have these interventions where I help kind of pique some interest for students. The majority of students who have their bibs done, I'm going to send them out to the library and I'm going to have them work with the librarian and find more sources that are more scholarly and academic, and I'm going to have them actually start reading more deeply into their sources. They're going to start taking notes. The library exercises that we did last week were really good. The students got a lot out of them. Our librarian gave us a really great information for the students, giving them websites that they can use to find scholarly info. Many of the students already have scholarly websites, scholarly journal articles. Sometimes they even have books. And so we already have some students who are getting on to the next step, and we're just going to continue to use that resource. I'm going to send small groups to the library at a time this week and just continue to use that resource in order to find more information. Last week we also talked about narrowing our topic more. We had students do another topic funnel where they actually took the bottom idea that they had in the original topic funnel and they moved that to the top. And so now their old narrow topic is their broad topic again, and they have to find more ways to narrow it. And I guide them through that. We talked more about historical perspectives. We talked more about ideas in history. And honestly, that was something that I wish I kind of did more of. I need to have more ways of giving students ideas on perspective. Not just saying that, hey, there's women's history, hey, there's military history, because it's much deeper than that. A lot of historians focus on a certain kind of sourcing, for example, or some historians specialize in asking certain kind of questions. And so I really want to help students find some of those creative ways of thinking too. And so I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to make lists. I'm going to try to show them from my own personal experience. But I think even next year I'll start stronger out with that, even like bringing that into the first week's material, talking about this is how historians ask questions. Not only that, this is how historians can help people. This is how your projects and assignments can help people. So this coming week, I want to really solve all the problems from last week by doing interventions. I want to focus on asking, okay, how does your big project deal with the national theme, conflict and compromise? And hopefully that'll encourage some thinking. But I also want to really focus on how can your project help people in the community, or at least how can your project educate people over an issue that you think is important? That just links it back to all those other things that we did the first week of school where I said, hey, what passions do you have? What kind of world problems do you want to solve? Let's think of those again. Let's bring that back. Let's try to find a way to get passionate again. Because many of the students, are having a hard time with the reading, with the thinking part. And it makes sense. We're on our 4th, 5th week now, and so many of the students are just struggling with going day in and day out, finding sources, reading them. They're not connecting it with the end result. And so I'm going to choose some students. I'm going to try to rekindle that passion and say, hey, you could really make a big difference. A lot of kids, a lot of people, a lot of historians make a big difference every single day with their research and their projects. And you don't need to have a PhD. You don't need to have 10 years of schooling to make a difference with a project. You could be 13, 14 years old. You could be a high school student. Doesn't matter. You could make a change. And so I really want to kind of light that fire in them again, and hopefully bring them back into the entire idea of, hey, we should really be passionate about our project. One of the other big things that we worked on last week was the contact list. So I basically told students a good historian, really a good social citizen, will have a contact list so their projects have multiple perspectives, or at least at looking at it and criticizing. You want to make sure that students have multiple people, not just teachers, but other people in the community who could see this project and give feedback, connecting with librarians outside the school, connecting with archivists, museum staff, just interested people, town historians, whoever you can find. These people are going to be extremely helpful because they're going to help the student find the flaws the teacher might. Because I even told the students this week that I won't have time to look at all you. I have 100 students. I'm not going to have time to critique all the time. And so finding that network, building that network is a great idea. And we started the list off pretty simply. We said, who's your English teacher? Who's your history teacher? Who are other teachers that you have a connection with in the school who you think might be helpful with this project? Do you know any librarians? Do you know any archivists? Do you have parents, friends who might be really interested in your project? And so we asked that kind of question, and we just kept on gathering the names for the students, and they each made their own doc with all these different sources. And in the end, students are going to continue to build the document up, and we're going to eventually use that document as a guide to contact people to help us critique these projects. That's pretty much it for the week, and I really do think the biggest flaw I could have fixed was trying to make sure students are passionate about their projects, and I think that would have solved a lot of the issues with some of the students where they just didn't want to do their annotated bib anymore. They didn't want to gather resources. I did have to harp on a few students saying, like, hey, get your stuff done. Some students had missing assignments. Some students had lower grades because they weren't motivated. But I'm allowing students to add on to it even after the due date in order to get more credit, in the hopes that they'll see that, oh, if I just do what I was originally supposed to do, I can get that grade that I want. And so that's kind of a short-term incentive, and I really want to work on the long-term incentive too of you could make a difference with this project. And so the two interventions I plan on doing this week are going to focus on passion and also just kind of grades. So I'm going to nail that short-term incentive, but I'm also going to hit that long-term incentive. So now I'm going to go ahead and outline this coming week. Monday, we're going to do our history lecture. We're going to get away from Pocahontas myth and move to another Native American topic in history. And also we're going to talk about discussing our categories and groups again. So the students are going to have a chance to rethink their groups, rethink their categories, and hopefully maybe combine forces with some groups and people who have similar topics to them. As always, Monday through Thursday, you can see there's Google Classroom questions, so students have to be reading history books and answering questions about them, and they're beginning to critique each other. So there's going to be a very interesting relationship with different students now, critiquing back and forth. Tuesday, we're going to do finding and evaluating secondary sources for students with completed topics and resources. Students who get to do this are the ones who have an actual topic and have resources to back it up. They're going to go to the library and they're going to actually work more independently this week while I help get the rest of the students on track. Also, primary source observations from another Google Classroom group are going to be done. Those students are going to actually go through a primary source and learn more about how you actually pick apart a source. Wednesday, we're going to do a topic intervention where the students are going to listen to more about passion, and we're going to have more discussion on what your projects could actually do for the community, or at least how could your projects help people. Saga students are going to have more questions that they have to review, and Minerva is going to do more primary source evidence along with that on Thursday. And then finally on Thursday, I'm actually going to start checking the secondary sources of the students who've been going to the library throughout the week and making sure they've actually been accomplishing their tasks, giving them guidance, and just giving them overall help. So as you saw on Monday, I'm going to have a discussion with the students about their categories and their topics. Many students have picked the same topic, but they're not in the same groups as people. For example, I have 25 students doing essays, and many of them are actually doing a topic that could be found in the other categories or within the essay section. And another thing, I have nobody doing performance because most students don't want to get up and actually perform in front of a crowd, especially if judges. And so I have to find a way to try to convince some students to drop out of essays because that's too many, honestly, for me to assess properly, and also maybe try to form a good performance group. The performance category in National History Day, it tends to be one of the least competed categories, and so not only is it easier to compete in because there's less people to compete, it's also a lot of fun and a really undervalued way of showing history. Performances are a wonderful way to demonstrate history and a fun way to do it as well, and so I'm going to have a discussion with students saying like, hey, I understand you guys want to do the essay, but if you do the performance, you might have a better chance of getting to state and nationals, but also it's a really fun way to have a good time with your friends. So that's what I'm really going to work on with that discussion, but also trying to combine other groups. For example, I have 14 group exhibits, and most of them are groups of 2 and 3. And so I'm going to see if maybe we can combine some of those into groups of 4 and 5. I really want to show these students that getting into a group is a good idea because teamwork in these things is fundamental. If you have a good team, you guys can create some really great stuff. And so I really want to hammer that point home. And so I'm going to focus on those discussions on Monday. I'm also going to get that history lecture, but that's kind of all I'm going to do on Monday. So on Tuesday, we're going to start with their interventions. And I'm going to start with the students who have topics that are very narrow and also have a good amount of research. So basically, I'm going to use the annotated bibliographies in my filing cabinet. I'm going to have them go through them and say, okay, you look good. You go ahead and go to the library. You're going to work. You understand your stuff. But before I send that group to the library, I'm going to pull them aside for like 15, 20 minutes, and I'm going to show you them the documents that I created that help you take notes on scholarly secondary sources, the exact same way I did it for my bachelor's and master's work. And so I'm going to show students how to organize your notes, how to put in keywords, that way you can search them for them later, and how to organize everything on a cloud system like Google Drive. So basically, I'm going to get students rolling already on finding good quality information that they're going to be able to use for a source on their future topics. And I'm going to start putting the bug in the ear of, hey, start thinking about a research question you want to ask. You don't need to have anything officially done yet, but it's a good idea to kind of start thinking ahead and being like, okay, what kind of questions can I ask about this topic that I keep on seeing come up in my mind? And also on Tuesday, I will work with other students in the classroom, again, talking about those interventions of finding that passion again. We'll do some exercises, just kind of thinking about, hey, how can we connect your now topic to what you want to do with your life? How can you help people? How can you help your community? What can we do to teach people? Because I think if you actually connect that with real world happenings, students will actually care. Students will actually go for it. Now, I'm going to have a couple students who won't. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not, but at least I can get the majority of them to follow this idea because they really could make change happen. I just need to show them that and make them believe it. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll also do interventions. Thursday will be kind of weird because we do have a vocabulary quiz that we need to do. I do vocabulary quizzes where students can actually retake them over and over again. And in this particular one, they have until October 13th to pass. But this is the first time that I'm actually making them do it. So they all have to have a grade in the grade book after this vocabulary quiz. And so we're going to continue to do interventions, though, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And on Wednesday, I'm going to do a topic intervention where I just kind of talk to students about, okay, let's start thinking more about your topic. Has it been whittled down enough? Several students haven't had a narrow topic yet. And so I would say probably out of my 100 students, maybe 10 to a dozen are really struggling with narrowing a topic down. And so what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to pull them out of other classes like study hall or anything else that I know that they have a test that day and they might not be doing much after the test. I'm going to try to pull them in during those times. That way I could really work with them in a bigger group in my classroom while everyone else is working. And then when they're actually in my class, I can kind of follow up on those interventions and say, hey, how are you doing? Are you finding more stuff now? Are you needing more help? And then I can do almost a double intervention with them if I need to. And so that's kind of the plan then, just really hammering home those points, allowing students to ask questions, allowing them to be frustrated, and then me taking all that frustration and saying, don't worry about it, let's just redirect all this energy into a positive way. That's going to be the week. It's really exciting. I'm having so much fun with these kids, and it's coming to the point where students are starting to pull ahead. We have some students that are kind of falling back, but honestly, we keep on dragging everyone back to the same center point, and students are starting to help each other too. Last week I had students help each other with primary source evaluations where they critiqued each other, and they did a phenomenal job at it. I've had students constantly show me leadership skills and leadership roles, helping their group members out. And so we're going to start actually talking to students too about, hey, we're going to start an actual club for National History Day where we do need leaders, we do need student representatives. And so I'm going to start promoting that idea and letting students really show me their passion and their concerns and maybe even coming up with solutions of their own. So I'm really excited for that. We're going to continue to help these students out, and hopefully we're going to start seeing some more leadership out of these students. All right, so that's it for my weekly plans. Now I'm going to show you a website that my principal shared with me that's really going to help with differentiated reading. Newsela.com has some articles that actually have differentiated reading options. So, for example, I'm showing right now an article called Forgotten Story of the Black Woman Who Helped Land a Man on the Moon. And if you actually scroll over here and hit the max button, you'll see the different levels of reading. And so for history articles, you actually choose an article, choose reading levels based off your students' needs, providing them the same article but something differentiated to what they actually can understand. So this is a great way to allow the students to have the same topic ideas and same topic information, but allow them to have something that they can actually understand. There's several articles in Newsella. If you scroll down, you have more options. And so definitely sign in. It's for free. Check them out because they have some really great stuff that anyone in any kind of class could use. All right, everybody, thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the video. We're starting to get more subscribers. More people are joining on the Instagram. More people are asking me questions. Feel free to make comments on the YouTube videos. We haven't received too many comments yet. I would like to see more of a conversation about these videos, especially if people are using any of these strategies or would like to know more about these strategies. Feel free to email me or contact me on any of the social media. Check out History Forge website. We're going to be doing some really big updates very soon. We're going to start creating more primary source lectures for people that have never been seen before. So we're going to start focusing more on topics like gender, sexual identity, race, religion, class, focusing on a lot of things that you don't often see on social studies websites or history books. So I'm really excited for that, and I can't wait to share them with you. But again, thanks for stopping by. Hope you come back soon. Take care. I don't know, man. I think the things are becoming popular. More people are subscribing every day, so I think you and I are doing pretty good. Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good!